Vol Nation, the Georgia Bulldogs went up to Knoxville, messed around, and found out that Tennessee is for real. This game would come down to the wire, and ultimately, Tennessee did not get the win. Kirby Smart himself said Tennessee should have won this game. So I ask you, Vol Nation, why didn't we? Oh, we're going to talk about this. Welcome to the Vol Patriot Podcast. I am your host, the Vol Patriot, patriot of the Volunteer Nation, and my co-host, Jay Mello. This podcast is for the people, by the people, specifically Tennessee football, but also college football as a whole. We're going to cover weekly updates, pre-game and post-game reviews, in-game specifics, and of course, hot takes. We will talk about things that most sports podcasts are afraid to discuss. You'll hear it here and only here on the Vol Patriot Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, go Big Orange, go Vols. All right, guys, thank you for joining the Vol Patriot Podcast. I will be joined by my co-host, Jay Mello, also a resident Gator fan. Boo. But she will be here to really help me walk this path of pain. And as I seen it, I'm not going to be alone on that one. Oof. Talk about a tough game, Florida LSU. We'll get to that. Jay Mello, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. This was a tough game to watch. Even as a Florida Gator fan, watching Tennessee lose to Georgia was brutal. I'm not gonna lie. It was brutal. I had super high hopes at the beginning of the game. That first quarter, Joey Aguilar was phenomenal. And then
Joey Swagular.
And then all of a sudden, everything sort of just took a turn for the worse.
Yeah.
Why do you think the game took such a turn after that first quarter?
Ooh. Yeah, so I actually have three key points, three keys to why we lost this game. And the first key is injuries. When you look at who we fielded, I'm not, and I'll say this, I think our defense and our offense played really well in the absence of these players that I'm about to mention. Offensively, we didn't have our starting tackle Sanders, but I felt like the offensive line they did a really good job against Georgia. So offensively, I wasn't as concerned. It was the defense for us and the key defensive injuries. Obviously, when you look in the secondary, granted, our true freshman Redmond, he got beat a couple of times. I think that was more in the defensive coordinator, a little hint down the road. But I think he did good. But when you have guys like Jermod McCoy, right, star corner, probably one of the best corners in the nation right now, and then you have Ricky Gibson. When you have both of those guys hurt in your secondary, right, that's experience and that's skill that we just simply can't replace, even though Hood did a really good job, locking down his side. But obviously Mike Bobo didn't really target him as much. He did, but not as much. And then you look at the defensive front, our defensive line is rather thin. I mean, we have defensive ends, Tyree West and Dominique Bailey, I believe, crashing the middle for us, trying to replace Jackson Moy and Devin Hubbs, I believe, who's supposed to be starting. We hadn't seen Hubbs all season, and of course Jackson Moy gets hurt in the Syracuse game, and your interior line, is thin. It's just what it is. So when you miss that depth, I think Georgia gets a few more runs that they probably wouldn't. You're missing your secondary, and Georgia's able to make some big plays. The first play of the game, they throw it to Redmond, and hit him with that hezzy, we're gonna call it, that jazz step, and just enough separation to get the ball to the boundary, and they catch it. And granted, the freshman was right there, all right, and maybe a little safety help there, knowing that he's a freshman and it's a tighter window, and maybe it's picked, maybe the wide receiver gets hit, and it's a separation of the ball and it's not a completion. Nonetheless, we're speculating at this point. The injuries were clearly, these guys were missed. They were simply that, they were missed. But with that said, I felt like the defense took a minute to settle in, but when they did, it was a different game. But the injuries definitely played a part in why we lost this game. Played a part.
So you talked about, you briefly mentioned the defensive coordinator. Even I noticed that there were some gaps in the play calling.
Yeah, some busted plays, yeah.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on the play calling that went on for the defense.
Yeah, real quick, we can nitpick on both the defense and offense play calling, but more times out of the many, I have to look, and I've been an advocate of saying this since we picked this guy up the first year, and I'm talking about defensive coordinator Tim Banks. The first year you go, well, he just needs some guys. The second year, like, we're on the fifth year. Yeah, the fifth year he's been there, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I find it hard to believe in Tim Banks in big games like this, because Georgia was able to get big chunk plays on us in crucial moments. After showing our defense, if you do that, we're gonna smoke you. And what I'm saying is, defensive coordinator Tim Banks runs a lot of man, and that's fine. But Jermod McCoy, once again, the injuries. Jermod McCoy's not out there. All right, Ricky Gibson's not out there. Okay, all right. You got a true freshman out there. Well, what do you do when you have a true freshman? You kind of get them some help, right? You kind of roll some safety help over there to kind of say, try Hood, right? Try Hood. Don't try Redmond, because he's got help, and he's good enough to, with a little help, he can make plays. I thought he played pretty phenomenal, but you're putting him on an island over there, right? With guys who have a ton of experience at the wide receiver position, and they're just getting just enough to beat him. That's a defensive coordinator mistake. You got to look out for your guys. Not to mention, there were play calls where we're vacating the middle of the field and guys are coming straight across, and we're demanding our corners to stick with Branch, one of the fastest players, the fastest player on Georgia's team, probably one of the fastest players on the field. We're demanding so much across the middle, one-on-one coverage, no linebacker help there. And you see that and you go, well, maybe I should drop a linebacker in that middle and take that away, on top of maybe rolling a safety to that side, and let the more experienced guys, carry the load and get that one-on-one. I felt like we did that sometimes, but many times we didn't, and we left our guys, exposed out there. And it's not like they were beat bad. They were right there to make plays. It was just, 4th and 6, for an example. 4th and 6, got to have a stop. You get this stop and the game's over. And once again, you don't roll safety help, right, to Redmond, and he gets cooked on the boundary. Great pass. What people don't understand, they go, oh, man, what a play. Well, I played the game, and I understand what happened, right? The receiver gave his quarterback plenty of space to throw to that boundary, and what is the corner going to do, right? They kind of switched off. I think the receiver he was supposed to cover cut in front of him, and the other receiver went. He did a good job of taking the second guy, but, I mean, that little move, man. That little move got him, and it's a touchdown. And then not to mention on the other end where they go for the 2-point conversion, they hit us with the pick play, which it happened in Syracuse and the refs never called it. Why not? Georgia's known for doing that sometimes. Well, if going back to the injuries, if that's Jermont McCoy or Ricky Gibson over there, you kind of feel like they have a better chance of recognizing that and maybe selling the pick, or maybe even, getting over there to deflect or make a tackle to maybe separate the football. These things happen. I got to see more from Tim Banks. I think with what we have on the field, I felt like Tennessee should have gotten a few more stops. Granted, they did get a couple of stops, but play continued due to some questionable calling, which that is my next piece of the puzzle, my third key, which is referees.
Yeah, while watching that game, I couldn't believe how lopsided the play calling was. The fact that Tennessee had 10 penalties versus Georgia's 5 penalties is mind-boggling to me. That just seems like it just seems way off balance. And listen, the Florida LSU game had some pretty questionable penalty calls as well. Please don't make me talk about that touchdown that was called back. But but to see Tennessee's 10 penalties versus Georgia's 5, and to see just how detrimental those penalties were, I feel raises some questions about the referees penalty calls.
The integrity of let's just call it what it is, guys. We're here for hot takes. Yeah, I said it. You're only going to get it here. Look, the integrity of the sport's on the line for me. I've said this. I've called into the SEC this morning and talked to those guys there, and that was a couple years back. The Tennessee-Alabama game where we go into Tuscaloosa with Joe Milton out of all people. If you don't know me, you're going to know me now. I feel a certain way about Overthrow Joe. And you go into that game, and, I mean, did he have a game? And then the penalties start rolling. We'll get into that, but, it's frustrating as a Vol fan to watch these big games and see a pattern. And the pattern is Tennessee penalized, the other team not so much. And there was no difference from this past Saturday in recent games. You look at last year against Georgia. I think I pull up my stats here. I think Georgia had like maybe 7 penalties. Tennessee had 9. And, you go, well, that's closer. Yeah. But you look at when those penalties happened. You look at how the game went. You look at the yards given up. I think Tennessee gave up like 70 yards compared to, Georgia might have had 59. And you go, well, it's a difference of 11. Guys, football is a game of inches. Georgia beat us in penalties. And I'm going to just be honest with you. That was last year. This year, not much difference. If you flip the penalties around, is the game the same? Right? And you go, well, Tennessee's just an undisciplined team when it comes to that. Are they, though? Are they more undisciplined than Georgia? We're talking about a bunch of guys who can't seem to keep the speed odometer, under 80 miles an hour. They're out there doing 150 miles an hour, trying to outrun GSP.
Shots fired.
I'm taking them. They're trying to outrun GSP. That's Georgia State Patrol, for those who don't know. And those guys, when you talk about a group of officers you don't want to mess with, well, that's what them Georgia boys are out there doing. But you're more disciplined than Tennessee. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You come into a hostile environment, right? 104,000 fans. Knoxville's finest, minus, of course, the Georgia fans that were there, right? And you didn't get one false start? I think I seen in the comments someone said, oh, man, how great or disciplined this team is. Not one false start. You're almost telling on yourselves. Yeah, that's a little suspect. I mean, I'm going to say this. Even Kirby Smart after the game, I quote said, I feel like we have to apologize because Tennessee should have won this game. Well, Kirby Smart, Tennessee should have won this game, but why are you apologizing? Do you feel like maybe there were some questionable calls that even you had to be like, what are we doing? We don't want to win this way, because anyone of intelligence watched this game and said, ooh, a lot of these calls are ticky-tacky. I mean, I look at these play calls, and Georgia was called twice for pass interference in the first half of the game. I think they accumulated all their fouls, all their penalties in the first half of the game, and some of them were at irrelevant moments of the game, so it was kind of like, But you look at Tennessee, they were penalized throughout the entire game and crucial parts of the game, which at one point Tennessee's in a position to go out. I think we're up 21-7. And you're looking to put this drive together and go out and score a touchdown, and you get hit with the penalty and it puts you behind the line, right? I think it was a holding. Classic, by the way. Classic referee call on Tennessee. Holding, doesn't matter what. Holding, and you don't call it on the other side. So Tennessee's penalized. That ends the drive. Georgia goes down the field, which they're aided by a pass interference call. Questionable, tick-tacky, whatever you want to call it. They're aided by it. Go and score. It's 14-21. Tennessee has a chance to go down there and score again. They throw a pick, These things happen, and you look at the interceptions, just real quick. I still put respect on Joey Swagler's name. Both of those picks that he threw, if people want to throw that out there and say, well, he contributed to the turnovers and why they probably didn't. No, well, he threw a pick, yes. Look at the one he threw to, I think it was Mike Matthews. Mike Matthews slips, or maybe it's Braylon Staley. They slip, and the defender happens to, be back there, and it's right there to him, because if the receiver doesn't slip, he's still running. Gets 15 yards. Who knows? Maybe he's good enough to get a touchdown. I don't know. But he catches that football. You look at the second interception, he steps up, or the first interception, I should say. He steps up to throw the football, and he can't. His tackle got pushed into him. Great job by Georgia's defense. It's a pick. So, going back to the refs, you look at this. You look at this game, and it's quite lopsided. And we as Tennessee fans, because this isn't just happening. First of all, this isn't just happening to Tennessee. But granted, as I watch Tennessee football, it sure does happen to us in key games. We just want some fairness. That's all. We want some make it make sense. We want some be for real. That's all. That's all we want. Be some for real. You want to say Kentucky's a more disciplined team. You want to say, Vanderbilt might be a more disciplined team or something. They're not going to have a lot of penalties. I mean, you want to throw these other teams. Don't tell me Georgia's a more disciplined team. Don't tell me in Alabama this year or last year is a more disciplined team than Tennessee. Don't tell me that.
So I have a hot take.
Okay.
I have a pretty big hot take when it comes to the refs, because that's what we're talking about right now. I'm curious, and I haven't done a full-on deep dive yet, and I will, because now my interest has been piqued.
Okay.
I wonder what the correlation between penalty calls in major games versus point spreads in Vegas.
Talk about shots fired. They don't. Hey, people don't want to know. People don't want to know these.
So just for the record, because we're talking Tennessee Georgia game, what are the odds? So all of you Vegas know-hows out there, or you statistic nerds, what are the odds that the point spread in Vegas is 3.5 points and Georgia beats Tennessee by 3 points at the end of overtime? What are the chances?
Boom. Yep. Boom. I mean, what is the chances? I mean, I'm not trying to not say something, right? Because this is why we're doing this podcast, guys. We want to talk about the game uncensored, unfiltered. And I think with the NIL and everything that's happened, right, we have to really take a look at college football as a whole and really challenge what's happening.
Don't get me started on NIL and the transfer portal, because that is a hot mess.
That's a whole nother segment. That's a whole nother conversation. I won't get started. But what is the correlation? I would say, as a Vol fan, as I was saying, in big games, it seems to be a narrative. All right, there seems to be a narrative, and the referees, they're not held accountable. They're not held accountable. But they're not being post-game interviewed. They're not out there sitting down. Well, we made this call because we saw this, and that. Show us where you saw it on the video there. Yeah, they're not gonna get called. And you know what? Who do we look to? Do we look to the commissioner? We dang sure ain't looking at the NCAA. Not those jokes. We can't even do our job and penalize Michigan. That's another conversation. You look at college football as a whole, and you go, where does the accountability, where does it kick in? But I will say this. Here's a hot take for you. Hot take on the hot take. Hot one. Did you know that the SEC, I believe, is the only conference? Oh, I can feel the commissioner going, oh. The SEC is the only conference that actually doesn't post referee assignments.
I did not know that.
Ooh, did my research on this one because I wanted to know who is refereeing this game. Because maybe, as you do your research, I do mine, we can gather the type of referees, right? In each game that Tennessee plays, when it's the Georgia game and the Alabama, maybe we can make a correlation to these types of guys are reffing. Oh, they don't do that. I think you actually have to find it on the channel. And look at what they got going on when they post the names. They won't post the assignments. They won't tell you ahead of time. You'll just get them.
Intrigue.
Oh yeah, and I hate to say it. I love the SEC. I love the SEC. I'm a big SEC guy, big Tennessee guy, obviously. But I looked around. Listen to this. The Big Ten does it. Ugh. I said, you got to be kidding me. They don't hide their referees. The Big 12 does it. Okay. The ACC does it. Oh, man. The Mountain West and the Sun Belt. I mean, come on. The SEC is the only team that seems to have mystery shrouding the referees. Yeah. Make it make sense, folks. Final thoughts. Tennessee is a field goal away from winning this game, guys. A field goal away. Let that sink in. We had Georgia up against the ropes. And there's a lot of humble Georgia fans out there, but there's a lot of cocky Georgia fans and players who obviously didn't watch or was a part of the game. Tennessee makes this kick. We're sending you home with the yellow piss running down your leg, and you crying those sweet Georgia tears. But going forward, guys, Tennessee did make some mistakes. We did miss a field goal. We got to clean that up. We got to do better. But you hung 41 points up on Kirby Smart, and that is nothing to frown on, guys. That's nothing from this. No one thought you could do it. Josh Heupel's been shut down before. It's only 17 points, the most allowed. Well, how about that? How about that? You know what that tells me? We're ready. We just need to take that extra step. Guys, we got to see more from specifically Tim Banks. Our defense is good enough to win games. But the play calling has to be better. Has to be better, guys. Tim Banks has to adapt or else. I think that's where it's come to because Josh Heupel has constantly found a way to win. But we're also going to need to see something from Josh Heupel. And that's going to be aggressiveness in the back end. There were times he could have been aggressive and scored. If we score, that's another opportunity we had to win this game, right? Ultimately, guys, Tennessee, I've got nothing but positive things to say about Tennessee, and what we did is just pure amazing. We got to continue that. And we got to continue to push forward. And I do believe Tennessee has a great opportunity to go out here and get to an SEC championship game. Let's go out there and do that, right? Let's get to the playoffs and make some noise. I believe in the Vols. guys. And if you're a Volunteer fan, the sky is the limit. Later in the week, we're going to talk about some of the key players and Joe Swagular and some other things. We're going to talk about a little Florida football for Jay Mello there. But guys, I appreciate y'all listening, and keep listening, man. Like, comment, subscribe. We need you. As always, go Big Orange, go Vols.